Got some fun ladies up here, and in fact, the Bone Builders exercise program's going on across the hall. I went in and did the hokey pokey with them to start the show. That was a lot of fun. But there's only ladies up there. There are no men up in the exercise program. What's that all about?
Well, they might be getting a little intimidated, I guess, by all those active women we have up there. But we have had men that join.
Karen Smith is the voice you're hearing. She's the community director here at Milestone Senior Living. We also have Heidi Simon, social worker for Minnesota Hospice, and Debbie Meckley, who's the chaplain and spiritual care advisor. So I'm under some good care here. This should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to a terrific half hour. We've got an event coming up here at Milestone next week. We're going to learn more about it a little bit later. But first of all, let's learn about Milestone. So if you could tell me, Karen, if you're full right now here at Milestone and whether you have apartments open, and I know you do Alzheimer's care, that kind of thing.
Yep, we do dementia care along with assisted living. On our assisted side, we do have a couple available rooms. Then on our memory care side, we have one, and those fill up rather quickly. There is quite a need for that extra help that people need with their loved ones, and we're more than happy to give them a safe place to live and a place where families can come and enjoy and be family members instead of the caregivers, which is what we're here to do, is to help them enjoy their loved ones instead of having to do all the work.
You have a beautiful setting here.
Well, thank you. We do enjoy it, being the one facility that is established out in this country setting. So, and we're a community of farmers, so this really fits in well with the kind of people that we that live in our community.
Yeah, I could see where it would attract me too. I mean, I've always desired to live in the country. It just hasn't worked out because you can see the stars at night, you know?
Absolutely. Yep, they do. They and with our patios, it makes it really nice for them. I think our patios has been a great asset to our building because people can do their gardening. They can sit out at night like they did when they were on the farm. They can enjoy that conversation with their neighbors and still give it their own personal touch.
And I'd be willing to bet you see some deer out here and everything.
Deer and turkey, and we have a lot of birders here, so we have bluebirds and songbirds all over the place. The residents really enjoy feeding them and helping to grow their population.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to be next to wildlife.
Yes, exactly.
So do you allow pets here?
We do, and that's we feel that pets are so therapeutic and so calming, and you know, especially with our seniors, you don't. First of all, they're making a transition, so it wouldn't be very good for us to take away their special family members, which are their furry ones, their cats and their dogs. Obviously, we have kind of a size limit. We don't want to get a horse in here, but they do have their pets, and they've enjoyed having them. So
that may be kind of interesting. You see a little horsey out here.
We do at our summer events, though. We do bring in goats and chickens and everything else to enjoy our ice cream social in the summer.
Oh, fantastic.
We do. We bring them in.
Get myself invited to that here.
Yeah, absolutely. We love bringing the wildlife in.
All right. We're going to visit about a special event that's coming up here at Milestone 1 week from today when our AM Minnesota show continues. Yeah, we're on Faribault's east side. You just drive past the former Wilson Center. You keep going on 14th Street. You'll see the woods to your right. Milestone across the road to your left. Beautiful scenery here. And we want to thank Milestone for having us out here. They are hosting AM Minnesota today. We're in a community room. Gorgeous facility here at Milestone. I went and took my own personal tour. They didn't know this. But I went and walked around, not always by design, walked around the whole building. And it's just gorgeous out here. The patios that Karen was talking about are fantastic. We'll get into that a little bit more. Karen Smith is the community director here at Milestone Senior Living. She's the voice you heard in the first segment, and it was awesome. She did a great job. Debbie Meckley is chaplain, spiritual care advisor, and Heidi Simon, who is the rambunctious one in the bunch, is a social worker for Minnesota Hospice. We'll get to them in a moment, but first of all, whether it is for ourselves or someone we care for, all of us at some point are going to be looked to make end-of-life decisions. What does that look like? Hospice Care, one of those end-of-life decisions that we often have questions regarding hospice and what is it, who's it for, how does it work, who can I ask? Ask yourself, what do I want living to look like when I know I am dying? What stands in your way of having this conversation with yourself or your loved ones? You can join Minnesota Hospice's community discussion, sponsored right here at Milestone Senior Living, 1 week from today, 4 in the afternoon. You can RSVP to Karen Smith, the community director out here. The phone number is 507-323-0199. Now, this is in Faribault, but if you're from Kenyon, Waterville, Montgomery, Lonsdale, anywhere in the area, think about coming over here. Kilkenny. So that phone number again is 507-323-0199. You matter till the last moment of life. I love that.
Yeah.
Heidi.
Hi, Gordy.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
I want to thank you so much for having us on your radio show, and a special thank you to you, Karen, for hosting us this morning here at Milestone. And Gordy, you're right. I'm sitting here with you at the table, and my view is a beautiful woods and a gorgeous pasture. I'm a rural girl, so this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, country girl.
We're honored to be sitting here with you today and are grateful for this opportunity to empower and inform our community about their healthcare choices.
Yes, thanks, Gordy, for having us. In fact, I'm going to add you to my radio dial.
Well, thank you very much.
But we are
like
here to discuss several points today, and I'd like to begin by talking about end of life, as you mentioned, and I know that's not an easy conversation, right? But imagine this possibility, like you said earlier. If you're someone or someone you love were told that they had a life-limiting illness, and the doctor tells you it's terminal, there's nothing more that you can do, what would you want your end-of-life experience to look like? So I'm inviting you to just take a moment and envision that. What would really matter the most to you? Who would you want to be at your side through this end-of-life journey? And I believe most, if not all of us, would probably want similar things, such as quality of life, loved ones and friends around us, the opportunity to fulfill some last wishes, possibly our bucket list, and of course, to have the symptoms of our disease managed so that life could be lived to its fullest right to the end. You know, we are out in our communities here every day, Gordy, providing end-of-life care all around for folks. And we collaborate with caregivers such as Milestone Senior Living. And they, too, share in a commitment to empower our communities with education regarding your healthcare choices, especially hospice care. They have invited us to a very special conversation, not only here on the radio this morning with your listeners, but also with the community at large. We're inviting you to this special event on Tuesday, April 18th at 4 p.m. in partnership with Milestone Senior Living right here at this facility to come and become informed, become empowered with your own choices. And again, you can RSVP to Milestone Senior Living and ask for Karen.
Is that a requirement, RSVP? You probably want to know how many people are coming, right?
It's not a requirement. We just kind of wanted to get an idea, but if they don't RSVP, we still want them to come. For sure. We feel here at Milestone Senior Living that having the resources to properly educate and prepare our residents and their families for the journey ahead, it's extremely beneficial. Hospice has proved to be the go-to resource for much of this information and support. We've learned so much by working with them. And we work hand in hand with them. And by doing this, we can provide comfort and care to both the residents and their families, making that end-of-life experience one where they can feel safe to express the emotions necessary to prepare for this end-of-life journey. There's just nothing better than having them by your side.
So Debbie and Karen, you both spoke to having choices in healthcare, but I also want to point out benefits. And hospice care is your Medicare benefit. So it's a Medicare benefit that you've already paid for through all the years of working. So all of you listeners out there and your loved ones who have worked so hard all of your lives, this is a benefit that is there waiting for you. You already paid for it. When utilizing your hospice benefit, it's really important to know what you're looking for when you're choosing a hospice. So for example, questions to ask that are important are, what are the services and specialized programs offered to you and your family that go beyond those that are required by Medicare? Also, are there limits put on you in regards to treatment that you are currently receiving?
That's right. But, how quickly can a hospice intake or admission staff come to help your loved one? How quickly can this admission process take place? And very importantly, what grief support or bereavement services does the hospice offer? This is so important, and it's amazing how it varies from hospice to hospice.
So Deb and Heidi are both from Minnesota Hospice. What is Minnesota Hospice?
Well, Gary, we are Minnesota Hospice. We are the realization of the mission of a group of Minnesota physicians who are committed to providing the highest standard in hospice care to our communities in Minnesota. We are a local, hometown hospice with a long history of experience in end-of-life care. Our team is unique in that not only do we provide this care locally, but we all live in the area. So I want to do a little shout out to some of our team. We have Brittany Karsten and Peggy Miller, our RNs, Sherry Odenthal, our CNA, Michelle Pexa-Hertaus, who provides outreach to all of those that we serve, as well as Debbie, our chaplain, and myself, and others on our team. We're committed to reaching out to our communities. We're here to educate and empower people to utilize their hospice benefit. Because, all too often, we look to hospice in the last days or couple of weeks of life, and we're here to empower each and every one of you listening to know that hospice should and can be started much, much earlier. Gordy, we understand that this conversation can be difficult, and we acknowledge that. But it is so important to ask those questions, to get answers, to be informed, and create a place where you can be comfortable and trust the answers that you're getting. Our team here at Minnesota Hospice consults with families, caregivers, loved ones. Whether your choice is to get service from Minnesota Hospice or someone else, the consultation is so important. It's the next best step to receiving the best care and finding that support.
That's right, Heidi. That's so true. And another truth is that there are myths out there, and those myths can get in the way of people accessing their hospice benefit, the one that is entitled to them. And one of those myths is the cost. There's no cost when you receive hospice care. It's a prepaid Medicare benefit that you're entitled to. And again, we're here to dispel these myths, to give you the right information. Another example, hospice is only for cancer patients. It's only for the last weeks and days of life. That's not true. So we spoke earlier about envisioning what your end-of-life experience would look like, what would matter the most to you, and what would your last wishes be. And this is why we so encourage hospice sooner than later. So we've talked about it. We know what hospice is. It's end-of-life care. But what does that mean for you? Well, you would have a nurse to visit you as much as you need. And that includes a nurse who is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, weekends, holidays. You would also have a CNA, or a certified nursing assistant, for your personal cares. You and your family will have the support of a social worker if needed, as well as additional spiritual care support by a hospice, someone like me, by a chaplain. Whether you're in assisted living, skilled nursing, or in your own home, we, your hospice team, come to you. This is a dedicated team offering you as many choices for what you would like your care to look like, knowing that it's designed by you, it's for you, and it's for your family.
The personalized care and planning for the family, we find is so essential in giving each family what they need. That's where Milestone feels that teaming up with hospice is crucial so that we can maximize in hands-on care for our residents. That means even though we have, at assisted living here, have educated caregivers, we, through hospice, can make available more caregivers to the residents and his or her needs along the way.
That's right, Karen. And with respect to having choices, we offer assistance in advanced care planning, and we are certified through the Honoring Choices program. And Gordy, we've been hearing about how important it is to do this planning on the news media and in conversations in our communities. So we here in Minnesota Hospice are part of the movement that highlights how important advanced care planning is for each and every one of us. Another reason that we're unique is our medical director is registered with the state of Minnesota to certify our patients for the use of medicinal cannabis if necessary or if that's desired as an option. And I love that we have a specialized dementia program that offers an array of benefits to our patients. We include essential oils, therapeutic massage, healing touch, music therapy, and really so much more. And because we are local, we admit our patients and provide our services to them and their families 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as Deb mentioned earlier, that includes weekends and holidays. So we really tailor our services to what our patients and families need. And we also advocate for our veterans, and we are partnered with the We Honor Veterans program.
So here we are. We're advocating for hospice. The myth is that when you make a decision to enter hospice care that you're giving up hope, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Hospice puts a new face on hope, which is the presentation that we will be having here at Milestone coming up next week. You know, the journey of end of life, it's imminent. We all know that. We will all be there one day. So why wouldn't you bring on a team of experts in end of life care for yourself or for somebody that you love? It just seems to make sense. So we know that this journey can be overwhelming. However, with additional support for the patient and the family, the overwhelm, sometimes the indecision, even the grief itself can become the best experience that one could possibly have in the situation. So hospice is the new face of hope. So for more information, you can call us at Minnesota Hospice, 952-898-1022, or visit us at www.minnesotahospice.com. That's Minnesota spelled out, hospice.com.
It's been wonderful to be here with you, and we look forward to seeing you at Milestone on the 18th at 4 o'clock. A special thank you to you, Gordy, and to everyone who was out there listening for joining us today.
Yeah, well, we've got a few minutes left here. We're going to talk a little bit with Kathy about Milestone Senior Living again out here on 14th. We're east of the Wilson Center, right?
Yep.
Out here on the east side, right on the edge of town.
It is, and it's not as far out of town as people think.
No,
we are a country setting, which is just right off of.
See the golf course.
Yeah, you see we're right behind the golf course. Go golfing and come on over and visit some great people that we have here.
I'm going to guess because I smelled the smells out of the kitchen when I walked by there on my tour. Very friendly ladies too.
Yeah.
Over in the kitchen. My favorite place, as you can tell, is the kitchen.
What we have to offer is our cook, and I'm not just saying this, I've worked at a few places and eaten at several, and our cook does everything from scratch. She shops locally and supports all our local grocery stores and markets, and she handpicks the vegetables and the fruits and the meats and watches for the ads and the specials, and every community living and things have budgets to follow and things like that, and she does not let that deter from giving top-notch food. So,
sounds terrific.
Yeah.
So at this community event next week?
At the community event next week, I'm sure there will be some goodies that can be sampled. So we will do that. I'm very anxious to have Heidi and Deb here to talk more about what they have going on. And I just have to interject one quick little story if we have time.
Sure.
This happened a week ago, and Minnesota Hospice was here with some people that they're working with, and we had one resident that was having a very difficult time and very hard to settle down, very agitated, just not anything was calming her down. And their nurse started playing the piano and started playing hymns. And this, I actually was with this resident at the time. We made our way over there, and she started humming and singing these hymns. And within minutes, all her anxiety was gone, and she actually fell asleep and singing to those hymns. Yeah. It was a beautiful hospice experience. This is what it is. It's not about sorrow. It's about the joy, the day-to-day that we can get from that. It was amazing. So.
Well, I love the way you guys put it on your website. I looked at your website, Deb, and I love the way you put it on your website, and I'm paraphrasing here because I didn't bring it with me, and I should have. Something to the effect that hospice is not about dying. It's about the end stage of living. And I just love the way you put that, Deb.
Yeah.
at Minnesota Hospice. So tell us more about that, if you would, please.
That is the focus, and that's the myth, the misperception, is why people get on hospice so late, is that people think that if there's something about 2 weeks, we're not quite sure where that came from in the history of hospice, but somebody gets on hospice and they have 2 weeks to live, and that's so not true.
It's the end of 6 months. You have to have a doctor's order, right, or something?
Right,
like that.
And that's the appropriateness for being appropriate for hospice service, and nobody can say they had to put a number on that. And it's difficult to say because nobody can really say when somebody is going to leave this world.
Okay, so let's say I get diagnosed tomorrow with cancer. Okay, they tell me you've got a cancer. They tell me what kind of cancer it is. I ask, of course, the obvious question, how long do I have?
Right.
And they tell me 5 years maybe. Is that the time to go to you folks and maybe make out a plan of what I want to do when I get to that last stage? Instead of having my family make those decisions for me, I make those decisions?
Right. If somebody tells you have 5 years to live, you're not hospice appropriate, but you certainly are advanced care planning appropriate.
Okay.
And that's what we strive to, is for everybody, whether you're 18 or 88. Make sure that somebody knows what your wishes are. What do you want? That's part of that question. What do you want living to look like if you knew that you were dying? What are the things that you want to do, but what are the things that you want people to know that you want? What are your desires, and make sure that people know what that is.
You've heard the song, Live Like You Were Dying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that song.
I do too.
Because it's true.
It is true.
If you and I knew we were going to die soon, our priorities would change a little bit, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so really it is about the living, and what does that feel like? What does it look like? Who do you want to be with? And how do we have those conversations? Because they are tough conversations, but they're the elephant in the room. And when that conversation gets out of the way, you can start talking about the joy and the fishing trips and the fun, and have the memories that come up, instead of if we go there, that means we have to talk about death and dying. Well, you do have to talk about death and dying. And when we get it out of the way, everything changes. It shifts. Your grief changes before, during, and after that event.
Now, I seem to recall I took a dying, I know this sounds morbid probably, but I took a death class in school. And the first stage, as I remember, when you're told something, is anger. Is that the first stage of grief? Anger?
It is, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's 5 stages to grief. I mean, we don't have, they're kind of lengthy, but everybody grieves differently, and it's appropriate for everyone. And it's about understanding where they're coming from, where they're going, who they are inside of their relationship with that person. And that's why grief looks different for every person and their relationships with the person who might be at their end of life.
Again, we're out here at Milestone Senior Living. That was Debbie Meckley. She's chaplain, spiritual care advisor, which tells me, obviously, we have all different faiths, too. You have to honor all those different faiths.
Absolutely. It's about meeting somebody exactly where they're at.
Whether they're Muslim or whatever
That's
the faith
right.
might be.
Absolutely, because end of life is, wow, it's a very spiritual experience. As we are moving through that, just things that come up for people, it's just amazing, and it is a very spiritual experience, not necessarily religious, but spiritual.
Right, yeah. And sometimes I have often thought of friends of mine and relatives of mine who've gone through hospice, it's a blessing, because they actually get to say goodbye to their loved ones.
Right.
I mean, if I died driving back to the station today, I don't get to say goodbye to anybody. I'm just gone like
That's
that.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's the importance of hospice sooner than later, too, is the conversations. Being able to get them out of the way, to feel comfortable, because the person who's going through that event, it's very lonely if nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to bring some of these subjects up and these keynote points at the New Face of Hope, which is our presentation here on the 18th with Milestone. And community, please come. Bring your family. Bring somebody that you know that might be in a serious illness, and maybe they don't know how to open that conversation up for themselves or for their family. But we got plenty of room here, plenty of goodies, and it's actually a very uplifting, inspiring conversation.
Again, Milestone Senior Living bringing you our show today, so join Minnesota Hospice's community discussion, sponsored by Milestone Senior Living, next Tuesday, 1 week from today, 4 in the afternoon. Again, RSVP Karen Smith here at Community, that's her real name, Smith, Community Director at 507-323. My mom was a Smith. 507-323-0199. You matter till the last moment of life. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's a great facility out here. You got to come out just to see Milestone, folks. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota on KDHL AM in Faribault, Minnesota.